Have we hit 15 yet? All right.
Carlando Payton.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see if we can muddle our way through this. Thank you for your indulgence, your patience. Larry, can we turn these down a little bit? Or wherever that feedback's coming from. I would advise each of the committee members to leave your microphone muted unless you,
Mr. Chairman, you got two microphones open in that room. If you would turn the one on your laptop off, we can hear the one in the room.
yeah, I think we're going to turn the other one off. How about that? Still got it.
Still there with the
There's a remote down.
try turning the microphone off on your laptop.
I think I want it on my laptop, Jeff. I just don't want it on in the rest of the room so that everyone can hear me through the laptop.
There's the other one
I
before you had yourself working. I could hear you great.
But we can certainly try that. How's that? Is that better? Everybody hear me?
Hear you fine, go ahead.
All right.
Hear you good, a little low volume, but you're good. It's clear.
All right. Good deal. Good idea, Jeff. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Got a pretty long agenda, but hopefully we can work through it fairly quickly. I don't think there's much in the way of controversial things here. But anyway, I appreciate it. Appreciate your attention to this. Hopefully we can get you out of here in an hour or so. So I'll call this meeting to order. The first bill of the day is House Bill 3, outdoor advertising. We have dealt with this issue in years past, and we reached a compromise last year, and the Senate did not approve it. We approved it. So it's back before us again. What this does, it says that outdoor signs can be constructed back to their initial height. And the issue that was about is the controversial piece was about making those signs digital. So there is a paragraph in there that does not allow these signs that if they're not digital already, they can't become digital. So that's an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass HB 3. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? I don't see any. Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson, if I may. Thank you. Our next bill is House Bill 319, comes to us from the Department of Public Safety. It waives the residency requirement for military spouse and family. And it also says that any denial of a license can go to court within 10 days, and that the commissioner of DPS will be served along with the AG. The way it currently is, it's only the AG, and then the AG serves the commissioner, and oftentimes they are served with very, very short notice of that court. So that's an explanation of the bill. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Abe Hudson. I have a question.
Yes, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you. You said oftentimes, I guess, are there incidents where this is occurring in the state, or is it a bottleneck in certain areas? I guess I'm trying to figure out, why we're introducing this now.
Or which part of it are you talking about? Are you talking about the residency requirement? Or
Yes.
the the denial of the service.
Well, the residency requirement and the denial, I'm interested in both.
Okay, well, the reason that it kind of doesn't make sense to exempt military personnel and not exempt their spouse. They're in the same situation that active duty military would be. So it just makes sense to include the same provision for their spouse and family.
Well, that's as far as the spouse piece. I have a question with that as well. I mean, what if they met 6 months ago and are married and, very little knowledge is known about the spouse? Does that just mean because they're married to a military personnel, they get access to being able to do that?
Well, they get a driver's license. Yeah, that's right.
So the driver's qualifies you.
Well, that's what we're talking about here, is getting a driver's license.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Notarize affidavit of certification. Is that just a technical change? Excuse me for just a moment. Yeah, Chad. Something to do with notarization. And I apologize. It is for a gun permit, not a driver's license. Excuse me. There is a proposed amendment on line 245 to change the department, the renewal form, a notarized affidavit stating that will be struck. A notarized affidavit stating will be struck and replaced with certification. Now, Chuck, you're going to have to explain the significance of that because I don't see the significance of it.
GPS is saying that's a needed change based on I think it's the notarization there is unnecessary. I'm trying to find where they've explained that. And we can do this in this way if we get a better explanation. I don't have a good explanation right now. I just know they DPS wants it and they said they talk to you, but I don't know.
Okay. I will, I'm going to not offer the, I'm going to retract the amendment, and we will get more clarity from DPS. And if the amendment is necessary, we'll offer it on the floor. All right, so essentially what this does now is it waives the residency requirement only the residency requirement for getting a concealed carry permit. That's all it does. And then says that if someone is denied or it's revoked and they request a hearing, that they can do that within 10 days, and that the Commissioner of DPS will be served as part of that, not just the Attorney General's office. So that is an explanation of the bill. Any further questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Temple, and the motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. Next bill is House Bill 328. I want to read what this does as I read it. It allows MDOT to contract with counties for highway maintenance. Now, I want to ask the lawyer here, as you read this, does it require MDOT to contract with the counties if the county wants it? As I read it,
no.
If both are willing to enter into the contract, they
Yes.
are allowed to enter
That's
into
right.
the contract.
That's correct.
Okay, so my understanding of the bill is correct. It allows MDOT to contract with counties for highway maintenance. And that is an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion
Table.
gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. HB 336. All we're doing there is bringing forward the code sections related to fuel taxes in anticipation of a federal infrastructure package that we believe to be coming. If that federal infrastructure package does not come before we reach deadlines on this bill, it will simply die on the calendar. But not knowing exactly what that might say, there might be matching dollars that would need to be put in, and that's the reason for bringing this forward. We have a very short timeline, obviously. If we don't get that federal package here in the next couple of weeks, then this will just have to die. But that is an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Abe Hudson again. May I ask a couple questions?
Yes, sir, you're right.
Outstanding. Just wanted to make sure you heard me. Any idea, very brief question of how much that might be, or any conversation, just out of curiosity?
No, sir, we have gotten no details from Washington, other than the fact that they are intending to bring out a package within the first 100 days. That's all I know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The bill passes. Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from
Table.
Jackson. Thank you. Next on the list is House Bill 341. This will allow trucking companies to install safety equipment in the trucks of subcontract truckers without fear of co-employment issues. What we're running into is trucking companies require certain safety apparatuses in their trucks before these guys can subcontract with them. Most of these guys cannot afford this safety equipment to put in their trucks. The thing that deters the trucking company from providing it is the co-employment issue. They want to make certain that even though they put this equipment in the truck, that trucker is a subcontractor. He's not an employee of the trucking firm. So that is an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by
Table.
the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. If I may, I'd like to I'm going to break from the list a little bit. We're going to go to HB 424 next, but then I want to take up all the Memorial Highway bills. HB 424 is for T.L. Wallace, initially written for Highway 44 in all of Marion County. I'm going to offer an amendment that I have gotten approved by the author of the bill, Mr. Morgan, to amend it to be Highway 44 west to the Pearl River Bridge. West of, I forget the highway now. I think it's Marion County. Highway 13 west to the Pearl River Bridge. Highway 44 from Highway 13 west to the Pearl River Bridge. Any questions on the amendment? If you favor the amendment, signify by saying aye.
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 Now the bill, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All those in favor, title sufficient to pass. Committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Tipa.
Table.
To table by the gentleman from Jackson. I'm sorry, no, gentleman from Benton. Let's go to 872. That is for Trooper Troy Morris. You may recall that Trooper Morris was shot while performing his second job on Highway 61 in Jefferson County last year. The bill reads all of Highway 61 in Jefferson County, which is more than we traditionally do. So my amendment would be Highway 61 from Fayette north 1 mile. From the city of Fayette north 1 mile of Highway 61. Any questions on the amendment? If you favor the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now to the bill. Motion is title sufficient to pass. Community sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you for that. Next bill is 887. It's Memorial Highway for Corporal William Justin Cooper. It currently reads, what was the highway number, Chuck?
82.
Highway 82 in Montgomery County or
Webster
Choctaw County?
Webster County. There's a committee sub I emailed everybody.
Yeah, Chuck emailed all of you a committee sub on this. Corporal Cooper lived at Grady Road. We are shortening this. Highway 82 from Grady Road to the Montgomery County line. That is the amendment. Any questions on the amendment? If you favor the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now to the bill. Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. Next bill is not a Memorial Highway bill. It's going to be HB 940. And that simply allows the community of Kigsa to erect a sign on highway right-of-way for Olympian Tory Bowie. We have passed this bill 2 or 3 times in the Senate. For some reason, continues to kill it, but we're going to pass it again for our folks down at the House who want it so bad. So that is an explanation of the bill. All those are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The bill passes. Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you for that. This next one's pretty special too. House Bill 995 is Representative Tommy Woods Memorial Highway. Comes to us from Representative Kincaid. I have an amendment to be Interstate 269 from the Tennessee state line to Highway 302. It currently reads Interstate 269 in all of Marshall County. So the amendment shortens it from the Tennessee state line to Highway 302. I have also gotten this approved with the author. So that is the amendment. Are there any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment passes. Now the bill. Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. House Bill 550 comes to us also from DPS. Pretty big deal for them, but it's a short bill. It simply does away with the intermediate driver's license. Just does away with it completely. And that's an explanation of the bill. Any questions on that? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. House Bill 573 from DOT. It changes from going to a specific design standard just to say that bridges and culverts will be designed to the most current design standard. It also requires that bridges on roads 16 feet in width, that the bridges will be 16 feet in width so that you don't have a more narrow bridge than the road. That is an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. Next up, House Bill 576 comes to us from the Office of State Aid, revises the definition of a deficient bridge to match the federal definition and the LSBP allocation formula to be the number of eligible bridges in a county proportionate to the number of eligible bridges in the state and the deck area of the eligible bridges in a county versus the deck area of all eligible bridges within the state. The change there is the second part of that, where it used to be the number of road miles in a county is proportional to the number of road miles in the state. That's an explanation of the bill. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
how is this, what effect will this have on, they've got a 4-year plan on doing things in the counties that they've adopted. What impact is this going to have on that 4-year plan, or do we?
Well, LSBP dollars can only be spent on eligible bridges, and this gets LSBP dollars to those eligible bridges fast.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
the bridges,
That's okay.
not the roads.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
We're talking about bridges here, not road money. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's an explanation of the bill. Any other questions? Motion is titled sufficient to pass. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you for that. Moving on to House Bill 579. That comes to us from DPS. And it's an attempt to update and streamline the motor carrier requirements. It says that the commission may require, right now, the motor carriers coming into the state, the commission must require a hearing. They require a hearing. That's not always necessary. So that's being changed to they may require a hearing. We passed that last year. Again, it died in the Senate. And if an applicant is denied, then the applicant then can demand a hearing within 20 days if denied. And then it also clarifies further down that motor carriers are liable for loss or damaged goods that they're carrying. And that is an explanation of the bill. Any questions? Seeing none, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. What's next? Yeah, skip that. We're gonna skip 628, and we're gonna go to House Bill 740. And I'd like to recognize the gentlelady from Forest to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a committee sub that I believe was emailed out to the committee. So this is a very short language. It just requires that the Department of Public Safety to establish an alternative state identification card, just like the other state identification card. It's not a driver's license, and it is not approved for the federal Real ID program. It is just a state ID like others have that are not driver's license. The only difference is that this identification card would not require proof of domicile for folks who do not have a domicile. And the background on this is really aimed at helping our homeless community in the state. In many cities, there are homeless folks who are trying to get employment, trying to get housing, and because they have no state ID card, they cannot even apply for these things. They may have Social Security card, they may even have a birth certificate, but without some type of state issued ID, they are kind of in a holding pattern. And I have talked to the Department of Public Safety several times about this. They acknowledge that it is an issue, are working on it. And so I'm just dropping this bill to require them to, by June of 2021, have established some type of state ID that does not have a domicile requirement on it. And that is my explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And as I understand, you have had general conversations with DPS leadership, and they have agreed that this is an issue and something that needs to be addressed. Is that right?
That is correct. That they have acknowledged they are working on it, and I know that they are. So hopefully that by June of 2021, we will actually have this in place.
Any questions of the lady? Seeing none, lady, what is your motion?
Motion is title sufficient due pass committee sub.
So the motion is title sufficient due pass committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you for that. Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. Next bill, House Bill 1036. House Bill 1036 would allow the issue of a driver's license to active military spouse and dependents over 16 without an examination, provided they have a valid license from their home state. That's an explanation of the bill. Any questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you. Next bill is House Bill 1055 or 1155, excuse me, 1195. Electric bicycles. Again, I'd like to recognize the gentlelady from Forest to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yes, this bill addresses the regulation of electric bicycles in the state. There is already a AG opinion from 2007, which says that electric bicycles are to be considered bicycles just and not cycle or a motor scooter, that they are to be considered bicycles, and the rules are applied to electric bike or an e-bike are exactly the same as electric bicycles. So this is already an AG opinion, except with the sort of explosion of this industry, it has sales of e-bikes from 2019 to 2020 have increased 197%. And so we believe that there's going to be a whole lot more e-bikes on the roads and on the trails and paths of our state. That one purpose of this bill is just to put in code that electric bikes are to be treated as bicycles, but it also allows local governments to be able to prohibit or restrict electric bicycles on areas of their town, on paths, things such as that, if it is declared that for some reason there is a safety issue. So that is an additional a benefit of the bill, that it gives local authorities some control over their use in their jurisdictions. There's 3 classes of electric bikes. Class 1 and Class 2 max out at 20 miles an hour. Class 3 goes to up to 28 miles an hour. It's a low voltage electric bike. And so that's really just is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions of the lady?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Chairman. This is Representative Faulkner.
Yes, sir. Ms. Faulkner, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my question is, this bill will be contradictory to the AG's opinion. Is that correct?
No, it just codifies it. It's the same as the AG's opinion. It just puts it in code.
So the AG's opinion said that e-bikes was to be considered bicycles, but I thought I understood you to
Yeah.
explain it as this would give the local authorities the power to decide how that would be viewed in their own jurisdiction. Is that correct?
So the AG's opinion, you're correct, said that an electric bicycle should be treated as a bicycle with all the same rules of the road and requirements of a bicycle. So
Right.
the bill just puts into code that language. But the only thing that is in addition to this is that if for example, in my area of the state, we have a longleaf trace that's 44 miles from Hattiesburg, I believe, to Bassville or Prentice. I forget what the end of it is. If the board of the longleaf trace feels like there has been an issue with the electric bikes on the trace for some safety reason, that they may hold a hearing and determine that it's not in the best interest of the longleaf trace to allow electric bikes. And so they can put restrictions on those should they see fit. So that's the only addition that is provided.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the lady? Lady, what's your motion?
Title sufficient, do pass, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you for that. Next up is House Bill 1245. House Bill 1245 would require MDOT to maintain state highway right-of-ways within the city limits of cities with a population of 10,000 or less. The complaint has been that they drive in one side of the city, they disengage the PTO, and then drive through the city, and then re-engage the PTO at the other side. So the question is being brought forward as to why not leave the PTO engaged and bush hog that piece of property while you're going through there. That is a likely scenario, however, I believe that probably is not the only scenario. And so I would like to keep this bill alive. I know a lot of folks in the House are in favor of it. However, I would expect that there will be a tweak to it when we get it to the floor. Any questions related to this bill? Seeing my motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to reconsider by the gentleman from Benton. Motion to table by the gentleman from Jackson. Thank you for that. Last bill on the agenda, I think it's the last one, right, Chuck?
Yes.
House Bill 1249. Radar is not allowed in municipalities with a population less than 2,000. I don't know why that was put in there. We actually, I think we passed this yesterday or last year, but this bill would take away that threshold of 2,000 and allow municipalities with populations of any size, as long as they're a municipality, to use radar on their city roads only, not out on an interstate. They could just use them on their city roads only. And it's still in the law that if you're gonna get out on the interstate, you've got to have a population over 15,000. So that's an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion reconsidered by the gentleman from Benton. Motion tabled by the gentleman from Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up today's meeting. We only have one bill that was double referred with us. It's the second committee, and I have been told by the chairman of Jud B that that bill is not coming out. So this will be the only meeting in this part of the committee work that we will need. So I appreciate your patience, your indulgence, and your cooperation to make this happen today. Thank you so much. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
What's up, old boy? What's happening? Just trying to make. Well done, son.